What's up? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of All We Do Is Talk. We're here with a Week 4 review. I'm here with Moody and Isaiah. How we doing today?
What's good, another victory. I guess we'll call it Victory Wednesday. Just keep racking them up, baby.
Still enjoying the dubs from Sunday. Eric, are you still enjoying the dubs from Sunday?
That would be impossible. Why would you ask such a question? It would be really hard for a Panthers fan to be enjoying Victory Wednesday this week. It would be really difficult. And why would that be, Eric?
We lost. But, hey, Isaiah, I'd like to congratulate you on your first victory of the season. I remember that back in Week 1. But let's start with the Thursday night game where the Bengals had to come back on the Jacksonville Jaguars and won 24-21. Joe Burrow looked great, I think. But what do y'all think?
CJ, the tight end, CJ
Uzoma.
He had a good game. He was looking really good. Don't buy into that yet for fantasy. I want to see that again.
He does it every other year.
Cincinnati, we're down 14. Now, we'll also bring up that Jacksonville had the ball up 14 in the red zone right before half.
On the goal line.
On 4th and 1, and they went for it, which I can see why you go for it. But
I like the decision.
I don't think they had to go for it because
they didn't. But
I think 3 possessions would have put some pressure on Cincinnati, a younger team that hasn't done that. It being only 14, that kind of like swung the momentum of that game that Cincinnati got to stop there because they were the better team. But probably the best Trevor Lawrence game we've seen. Good comeback from Joe Burrow. He looks fully healthy. The offensive line's good, but Jacksonville's defense is so bad that I don't even know how good it looked. It just looked good against Jacksonville. And then we had our drama after the game.
I think the aggressiveness early probably prevented them from being aggressive later, and I think that cost them the game. 4th and 4, I think like 7 minutes left. They're like midfield-ish, maybe a little bit on their side of the field. They're what? In a tie game, up a touchdown. You got to go for that. Your defense had given up 3 straight touchdown drives. Your quarterback was having the best game he's had all season. You had already shown early in the game that you believed in his ability to be aggressive. I don't see why you back off in that moment, especially with the way your defense was playing. And they never saw the ball again. Your quarterback never got the chance to go win the football game. You put it into your atrocious defense's hands, and you paid for it. And that's just one of many mistakes that Urban Meyer has made over the course of the last week.
So after the game, Urban Meyer decided to not fly back for the team, which is probably got to be the craziest thing, the biggest problem with it all. After the tough L.
Really? The biggest problem?
That's the biggest problem. That's the only problem with it. Like, what he's doing at the bar is irrelevant. That's his family off the field stuff. But he said that it was after a disappointing loss, he sent the team home to go sulking on that, and he decided to stay
and blow some steam
and have some fun. Like, no, we're a team.
You should be out there breaking down the tape, figuring out why your team can't win
everybody
can't win any football games.
Every media person that said it, like, that has worked in the NFL, they've never been on a post-game plane ride that the head coach wasn't on. How could the head coach just be – and he's rich, so, like, he could have got the private jet and flew him back out. But, like, hey, bro, you can't just choose to start doing whatever you feel like it to –
This is college. You don't own the program that you are a part of. You do not have the ability to just – you got Jesus, you don't walk on water here. And he's finding that out the hard way. It's a disaster. I think it's an unmitigated disaster for Jacksonville. I'm praying that they haven't ruined Trevor Lawrence. Somehow he ended up in the worst case scenario situation. He's more mature than his head coach. That is a unfortunate problem that they're dealing with. I don't really know how they turn it around.
Now, I predicted that Urban Meyer would be gone by Monday, but if reports are coming out that they're sucking it up, like the guaranteed money, they're going to have to see it out until the train goes all the way off the rails. Good luck to them. Urban, stay away from them bars, and you work for Jacksonville, not Ohio State. Let's wear some Jacksonville merch when we're out on the ground. Eric, how do you feel about this situation?
I mean, the one problem I had was in his press conference. He's going, "Oh, well, Trevor Lawrence went to a bachelor party."
And then
that's not what you need to do. Is throw your quarterback under the bus like that. Like,
oh man,
he doesn't care about him. He doesn't care about that quarterback.
His own bachelor party, like, wasn't it his bachelor party?
It doesn't matter, Eric. It doesn't matter. You under fire, so you throw your players under the bus? That's your game plan? That's how like the game. You the leader of the team. You got to go look at them in the locker room.
I was telling Trevor about the same situation. Well, that's funny because Trevor didn't get caught. You got caught, so maybe you should have listened to what you were telling Trevor. But yeah, good luck to Jacksonville. But that's probably the most we'll talk about Jacksonville for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Good luck, Trevor.
20 straight losses.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Urban Meyer coping with his first losing streak of his career or what, but yeah, that's it. That's not good. So
It's something we never seen before.
Yeah. So let's move on to the 1:00 slate. We'll start in Buffalo, where the Bills manhandled the Texans, winning 40-0. This defense is looking like the best defense of the Bills in the Josh Allen era, but we'll see it when it comes up against better competition.
I took offense to manhandle. It was only a 19-point game.
How much points did
with 5 minutes
Texans have?
0.
And how many points do you think they were going to score at that point?
It looked like 0. And it ended up with 0.
Easy cover. Vegas was telling y'all, hey, bro, this should really be 21, 28 points.
Whatever the spread was, they would have covered it. I don't think it mattered.
Because it wasn't going to be a 35-point spread because nobody would have picked
whatever the spread was, they would have covered it. That's incredible. Just incredible. Buffalo, it sees bad teams, and they perform at their A-plus level.
Miami's actually a 10-win team.
Yeah, but they were playing Jacoby Brissett. If Buffalo sees bad teams and they decide that they have to go nuclear on them, I hope they choose to continue to do that when they play better competition.
Yeah. I mean, Buffalo's looking strong. Houston's looking like they're falling into that. They're looking happy that they got to play the Jacksonville Jaguars twice this year, and they already got a win.
These are two teams going in opposite directions.
Yeah. Anything else to say about this?
I mean, the running game is continuing to impress me with Buffalo with Singletary 5.6 per rush, Moss was 4.4, and Josh Allen was 6.8. So if you can keep that running game going with this pass offense, they're going to be awfully tough to stop.
This is the best their defense has been in a few years, which is what's impressive.
They were pretty good the year they first made the playoffs. They did have a pretty Josh Allen's first playoff year. They had a pretty good defense that year, but this looks as good as it. But we will see. We will see.
Big test this week. So next game.
We're going to move on to Chicago hosting the Lions. The Bears come out with a win. Justin Fields' first career win. They pull it out 24-14.
The first of many. I will take the bullet for my second consecutive loss of my lock of the week. I don't know what the hell happened with Detroit. They were the kneecap biters. They were the fighters. The backdoor cover. Nah, they got their ass kicked.
They were in the red zone. They were in the red zone 4 times.
With the ball. Turnovers. Jared Goff literally had a ball bounce off of him into Khalil Mack's hands. It was a disaster. They looked like a bad football team that played bad.
It's settling in. First month of the season.
They gave their scripts over. People kind of got tape on them now, and they realize what they can do to them, and it's whatever they want. On the other side, great for my man Justin Fields. Now the starting quarterback for the Bears moving forward. The obvious decision. I don't know why it took so long. Hopefully, Bill Lazor continues to call plays for him, and they can continue to build on the success they had against Detroit. Exciting times for Chicago. We'll say that.
I won't say excited. I think so. Their defense is garbage. It's got to be one.
They only gave up 14 points.
But that's because Detroit went 0 for
in
the red zone.
In the NFL, good red zone defense is very valuable. You're going to give up yards.
Like you said, a ball bounced off of Jared Goff's chest into Khalil Mack's hand. Chicago is still not a good team. They're pretty mediocre as it comes, and their offense will have to carry them because their defense is not good. But as for Detroit, Frank Ragnow, their center.
Foot
injury?
Turf toe.
Yeah, so tough for them because he's their best player, and it's not even close because T.J. Hawkinson's quiet down a little bit. Anything else about this game, Eric?
The David Montgomery injury is another thing to keep in mind.
They dodged a bullet. It's not torn.
Yeah, but he'll be out for a week or more, right?
They said 4 to 5 is what I saw.
So
for your fantasy team, Eric.
Yeah, it's brutal. So moving on, we're gonna go to Indianapolis, beating the Miami Dolphins 27-17.
This is probably the most shocking result of the 1 o'clocks, maybe, in my opinion. I can't believe how well the Colts just handled them. No Quentin Nelson, like the offensive line's been struggling. Carson Wentz has been struggling with his health. But Jonathan Taylor in the run game, they really, really took it to Miami's weak run defense, frankly, and it allowed Carson Wentz to be efficient, avoid the turnover where he plays against that really, really good secondary. I think Byron Jones got left with an injury, which they don't have a lot of depth in that secondary in Miami. So when that happens, you can attack them, and that's exactly what they did. Jacoby Brissett struggled to move the ball with any real success. Will Fuller got hurt again. He is on IR with a broken finger. Hopefully they get to it back in a couple weeks, but yeah, just a surprisingly flat performance from Miami.
Definitely the most boring game of the 1 o'clock window. If you blinked, you didn't miss anything. Two teams that if their season even peaked, they would make it to the division round to get slaughtered by Kansas City or Buffalo probably.
Divisional round, I think
that's why I said peak.
These are one and done wild card teams.
Anything can happen in the wild card. So at peak, you get fed to a good team in the divisional round. But like neither of these teams, the Colts, their defense is picking it up, but their offense is banged up. Receivers, quarterbacks, offensive line banged up everywhere. Running backs, and Miami's got a pretty terrible offense.
I don't know what they're doing. They don't have any offensive answers right now.
Yeah. Bad offensive line.
Myles Gaskins, who like a talented running back, 2 carries for 3 yards. They don't know what they're doing over there.
Yeah, I just don't think they have the personnel on the offensive line, quarterback or running back room. So they have some good receivers, and Will Fuller, of course, he's hurt again, and he's already missed a few games being in and out. So two teams that if they peaked and everything worked right, they'd be knocked out in the second round of playoffs, but 2 coaches who hot seat are probably getting turned up secretly without anybody knowing anything. But anything else, Eric, to talk about this game?
Shout out to VCU center Mo Alley Cox for the 2 touchdowns. I don't know how he's on an NFL roster and doing well, but
he's pretty good.
He's been around for a while now.
He's found a good career in the NFL.
He's at least caught 20 touchdowns, maybe.
Yeah, and Angela was spoon-feeding it to him for a little bit there. He's been around for a good minute.
All right, so let's move on to Kansas City at the Eagles. The Chiefs pull out with a 42-30 victory.
So I'll just start. Andy Reid becomes the first coach to have 100 wins with 2 different organizations.
That's a hell of an accomplishment right there.
And I was saying, some people were saying earlier, if he had a couple more championships, he could have claimed to being the greatest coach of his generation. He just can't because he's never been able to outcoach Bill Belichick. So we know that's his kryptonite. So that's the only thing holding him back is that he's been in the Bill Belichick era. But good for Andy. Surprised that he could do it against Philadelphia, his old team. But Kansas City's offense looked explosive. They cut down the mistakes, and Philadelphia's offense looked explosive because Kansas City might have one of those worst defenses in the league.
I think that's the real story here. Philadelphia didn't punt in the entire football game. How do you not make Jalen Hurts and the Eagles punt one time? They have to fix that. They can't win a Super Bowl with the defense they have right now.
They're not going to win.
Somehow, Stephon Gilmore, they couldn't get in on that. I don't know how they make it better. Spagnuolo's going to have to find some of that magic, New York Giants magic he found, and put it on that defense to even give him a shot. Because as good as Patrick Mahomes is, he's going to have to be 5 touchdowns every week for them to win football games on a consistent basis. That's how rough it's looking for their defense right now.
I always thought it was going to be a down year for Kansas City. They had to spend so many resources rebuilding that offensive line. They didn't build anything else this offseason. So a defense that wasn't really that great, lost Frank Clark to some off the field and injuries. Really the only talented player on that defense is Tyrann Mathieu and Chris Jones. And they've been moving him around, making him less effective. So nothing in the second level at the linebackers and the secondary that's been getting robbed of players every offseason for the last couple of years. So, I mean, it's just going to have to be a year where they're not going to win because they're not going to be able to fix this, in my opinion. So they're going to need to spend next offseason replenishing their defense, which is okay because as long as they got Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, they'll be making deep enough playoff runs. It's just when they play electric offenses, they don't stop anybody. And, yeah. Anything else? Sorry, anything about Philadelphia that caught your eye?
Their offense finally found some rhythm. Devontae Smith had the best game of his career. He was awesome in that game. Jalen Hurts took care of the football.
They took that touchdown back from him. Don't forget that.
Yeah, they did. But I still thought he played really, really well. They weren't really slowing him down. He was making highlight reel catch after the highlight reel catch. Jalen Hurts, give the man more catchable passes, please. But overall, I thought
Dallas Goedert.
Overall, their offense really, really good. Kind of disappointing that their defense just had no ability to. They play a too high shell defense, and Tyreek Hill was just behind their defense the whole game. I don't know how you allow that to happen on the defensive end. People have done a good job of forcing them to drive the length of the field. Philadelphia didn't do that. They walked in there and they just threw the ball all over the yard on them. They didn't even have to use Travis Kelce this week. They just dominated them with the bombs, and it was too much for Jalen Hurts to overcome. They were actually in the game throughout.
Kansas City say about the Texans? No, the Eagles were in this game.
Kansas City didn't handle the Philly. Philly was in the game till probably midway through the fourth quarter when Kansas City finally pulled away on the big Tyreek Hill play.
Yeah, trash touchdown that they didn't need, but they got. So I guess it is what it is.
Pat got to pat his numbers to stay in the MVP race.
Eric, anything else to say about this game?
I was just going to bring up Devontae Smith. He had 7 catches for 122 yards.
He was outstanding.
He's definitely impressing me throughout his rookie campaign. Moving on to the slugfest, the flag fest of Browns at Vikings. The Browns pulled out 14-7 to make my lock correct, but I thought it was definitely going to be easier than this. But Baker's struggling.
Is the Browns? Do you think the Browns defense is for real?
It was just Baker Mayfield versus old Baker Mayfield.
But these are two offenses that had been pretty good to start the season.
Yeah, but what you saw is that they have inconsistent quarterback play. In the same scheme, guys who Kirk Cousins' accuracy was all off this game, which is funny because Minnesota came out in the opening drive, 10 plays, 75 yards, march on the field, Justin Jefferson touchdown. And I thought you were going to get that.
That's all they did the rest
back
of the
and forth
that's all they did.
Scoring game that you would get. Nope, just Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield missing open receivers all day long. And being pressured, Daniel Hunter had a decent game. Myles Garrett is looking like he's going to be the DPOY.
Hey now. He's got competition.
Yeah, but I think Myles Garrett will be able to keep it up. But it was going to be tough. 5 interceptions for Trey Diggs is pretty tough. Every time I turned over to this game, I just kept wanting to see more, but just kept.
And also, Cleveland was in the red zone a ton. They were 0 for 4 on fourth downs. I think I saw in the game they were really aggressive, and Cleveland's the best, the most aggressive team in the NFL as far as going for it on fourth down when you're supposed to. And Minnesota just kept finding ways to get off the field.
There you go about those analytics.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to take the 3 points. If they just take the 3 points at any time, the game would have been long over.
So I forgot about this game actually.
Weird,
I'm sorry, Miami, Indianapolis. You guys actually scored points. The worst game was definitely this game because you expected to see some explosive offenses.
This is one of the better games on the card.
And I will say some injuries to Jarvis Landry and
but Beckham was out there and Cook played. I'm pretty sure,
but he's banged up.
Okay, so I still expected better on the offense.
Yeah, what you saw was 9 rushes.
Yeah, It's question. 2 more teams, in my opinion, that their ceiling is getting fed to a real contender in the second or third round of the playoffs if they get really lucky. So, Eric, anything else to really say about this from Moody?
No,
the running game for the Browns was still there. Nick Chubb ran for 100 yards. Kareem Hunt ran for 70. I just expected more points in this game. 14-7 is not what I expected out of Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield at all. And
now that you bring that. Yeah, go ahead. What were you saying?
And the OBJ-Baker connection is just not developing.
Oh, yeah. It's
just –
No, I ain't mad at it again. We got 2 first-round picks to see this experiment. But like you were saying, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt probably the best running back tandem
easily
we've seen since Chris Johnson and Lindell White.
What about the Jets guys?
Oh, Sean Green and LaDainian Tomlinson?
That was pretty good.
LaDainian Tomlinson was pretty done. These guys are both in their prime, so they're consistently putting that pressure on you. This is my only argument. That was a good one, though. So I was trying to think of Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon Jacobs. Those guys didn't reach that peak, though. These guys look like we got 2 top 10 running backs in our backfield.
Yeah.
Lindell, White, Chris Johnson was the first thing that came to mind. But that's all I really got to say about this if you want to go to the next game, Eric.
All right, we're going to move down to AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys beat the Panthers 36-28.
Eric, y'all tried. Eric, y'all fought. You don't have to sound so somber. Y'all put in a good effort. This wasn't Davis Mills. This wasn't Jameis Winston. This wasn't Zach Wilson. And so the Panthers defense that looks
wasn't even really Dak Prescott. It was 200 yards rushing.
It's whatever we wanted to do. And that's what the Carolina Panthers and that's what the rest of the NFL is finding out, that the Dallas Cowboys have the best offense in the NFL. And they have the best offense in the NFL because they can do whatever they want.
Which defenses have you played?
The Bucs defense, the Chargers defense, and the Panthers defense. All three defenses have been ranked top 10.
Because of who they played.
The Bucs played the Rams, like the Chargers played the Chiefs, and those they have highly regarded defenses.
Those guys
the Chiefs only scored 24 points on the chart. Like this is,
and that's with 3 turnovers.
We have not played.
He's gonna sell the hype. He's here to sell.
We have not played no cakewalks on defense. We are not playing soft cake defenses. We are playing at least good defenses. Maybe not, and then a defense that was considered elite before we played them. Ezekiel Elliott, his demise has clearly been called way too soon. 20 carries, 143 yards and a touchdown. He was absolutely sensational. Had his longest run since his rookie year.
And he still should have. And he still.
Jeremy Chin's a fast guy. He had the angle. Good for him. Didn't really matter throughout the game. Amari Cooper fought through a little hamstring injury to score a long touchdown, showed his toughness, made a big play there. And then again, for the second straight week, the star of the show, the defensive player of the week, the defensive player of the month, Trayvon Diggs continues to ascend to superstar status in the NFL. He got his 5th pick in 4 games. Sam Darnold was back to seeing the ghost he was seeing with the New York Jets, as he could not understand why every time he threw the ball in Trayvon Diggs' direction, it was going the other way. He has been outstanding. As Isaiah talked about Myles Garrett, this is his primary competition for the DPOY and Trayvon Diggs. The Cowboys perform well on both sides of the ball. A couple of tough injuries for the Panthers. Like to see them get healthy. Maybe they can make a run to the playoffs, but overall.
Yeah, you're only saying that now because you already played them with the injuries.
Hey, we have injuries too, but no one talks about our injuries because we're overcoming them. So great win for the Cowboys. They continue to stake their claim as a contender in the NFC.
Contender. A good game from Dallas offensively. They did whatever they wanted to a defense that we thought was pretty overrated. So I wasn't shocked to see that. I was shocked to see them running for 200 yards because I am always shocked to see teams running for 200 yards because that's difficult.
We've done it for 3 straight weeks though.
But this wasn't the Jets. This wasn't Davis Mills and the Houston Texans. But I will say Sam Darnold played a really gutsy game. And I will say also that there was a fumble that clearly happened at a turning point, crucial moment in the game. But the refereeing has been so terrible this year. Some of the worst refereeing we've seen. They said that the forward progress was stopped, but was it Blake Jarwin or was it Dalton? Dalton Schultz definitely fumbled twice on one drive and didn't.
Man, you seem to have no problem with them calling the forward progress stopped on Dak's touchdown in the Philly game, but suddenly, when the referees stay consistent with the forward progress call, you have an issue. Can you explain why last week you had a different perspective, but then this week suddenly you feel like it's a different way?
Because it was clear that before the forward progress was stopped,
that's not your job to judge forward progress. The referees decide what the forward progress is. The whistle was blown.
And guess what? Everybody's better at seeing what's going on in that football field than these referees. But that was the crucial point in the game. Still, in the end, Carolina got down, but they still fought back, and they had a chance to kick an onside kick to get back in the game. They didn't cover, but they put out a decent showing. DJ Moore looked really good. Would have liked to see what Christian McCaffrey would have looked against this defense, against a Michael Parsons matchup. That would have been nice to see. But maybe we'll get that later on. But really, other than that, Carolina fought hard, but they were I didn't think they were the better team, so I wasn't surprised to see Dallas. I will say Dallas's defense has looked really good against a legitimate offense, so good for Dallas for that. But we'll see how they'll find a way to flub it up anyway. Eric, anything else to say about this game?
Yeah, I mean, the 2 Sam Darnold picks, one of them was just abysmal. Like, one of them was New York Jets Sam Darnold. Also, giving up 5 sacks doesn't help.
Offensive line looked bad, yeah.
And I would have liked to see what Christian McCaffrey could have done in this game, because I think he clearly does make – he's not – Dallas won this game, but if Christian McCaffrey's in that game, that definitely changes –
You're one play away.
That definitely changes how they do defense. Because
No
without Christian McCaffrey, you're targeting DJ Moore. You're doubling DJ Moore and putting Diggs on Robbie Anderson, or vice versa. Like, you're clearly keying in on the passing game. Chuba Hubbard wasn't that bad. I mean, he had 4.4 per carry.
I thought he ran pretty well.
He'll be a solid RB2 behind Christian McCaffrey. And DJ Moore's electric. He's becoming one. He's now becoming a top 10 receiver. Did any of y'all have DJ Moore top 10?
He was 14 for me, I think. I had him pretty decently.
And he was like technically 21 on my list, but like definitely we both recognized that he could.
DJ Moore's got the Moore Diggs matchup was fantastic on both sides the whole game.
And
I will say also, Sam Darnold has to get that relationship with Robbie Anderson going, because like there were a couple missed opportunities with throws down the field to Robbie Anderson, which is surprising to see.
Yeah, how DJ Moore stayed up on that one Spider-Man looking.
When Michael Parsons smacked DJ Moore, man, he's so good. He's Steve Smith reincarnated. That's what he is.
Anything else to say about this game?
No, I mean, we're definitely building, and getting Stephon Gilmore will help this defense. I know he's not back to week 7, so he can demoralize Isaiah's Giants. So
I look scared.
Do I look scared? But speaking of the Giants, we'll move on to
before we move on, though, that's NFC East 1, NFC South 0. Watch out, there's a theme here. Next game, Eric.
Moving on to, I think it's still Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Nope, it's the
Caesars Dome.
Caesars Dome. First year ever.
All right, the
Weird,
Caesars Dome. Where the Giants
I get that gambling money.
Where the Giants pull out the overtime win, 27-21. Saquon finally looked healthy.
I don't know if he looked all the way back, but he looked pretty good. But this game was clear. If there was a game ball to be given out for this game, it's got to go to the offensive line.
No? Oh, no, offensive line. Okay,
it's got to go to the offensive line for holding up and shutting out one of the best, Moody says a top 5 edge rusher, but one of the best edge rushers in the league. A guy I think disappears often. But Cam Jordan was held blanketed, no tackles for a loss, so no sacks. And that's just amazing job by Nate Solder, because there's no way you thought Nate Solder would dominate a Cam Jordan matchup. And then he went to the other side, but he found out that Mr. Andrew Thomas hasn't given up more than one quarterback pressure all year, so he didn't work out well over there. Good job holding up our front, because it gave Daniel Jones the time needed to deliver. Now, I won't say that the Giants were dominating this game, but they moved the ball pretty well. But they did find themselves down 11 points in the 7th-minute mark in the 4th quarter, and they were punting the football. And for the first time in what all these coaches that dream of, this scenario worked out where they punted it away, they got a quick stop, they flipped field, got a good return, got an explosive touchdown. And then, like Moody said, after Marshawn Lattimore peaked in the backfield on the out route, and let Saquon Barkley run by him, the Saints never
recovered after that. Never.
It's funny because the Giants really were getting dominated for most of the game, and then
like as a Cowboys fan, I was sitting over here. Cowboys was up 22 on the Carolina Panthers. Washington football team was down. New York Giants were down. Feeling good. And then all of a sudden, Eagles were down. And all of a sudden, Marshawn Lattimore is just peeking in the backfield instead of running with Saquon Barkley. And
he's a running back. You know, you heard what Dan Orlovsky said.
Bro.
When they put running backs out there, that you should throw it to them.
You know your personnel. No, you don't think Saquon Barkley can run? You didn't respect him at all. That's not Devontae Booker out there. You didn't respect him at all. You played him in the Big Ten. Like
usually when they put Saquon out there, they just motion him on the.
I mean, we know the Jason Garrett, Jason Garrett offense. That's a clear out route. We know what that is. That was always it was supposed to go to the out route. Marshawn Lattimore thought it's guaranteed he's throwing it, and Daniel Jones, who has shown admittedly a step up in his play, made the right read, hit Saquon over the top. And it was all she wrote from there. But we do have one criticism to discuss. Sean Payton.
You know he's known to blow
because the
games.
Saints were in control of this football game, and they were about to go in the game, and so they decided to put their, as Isaiah stated today in our Twitter DM, a glorified fullback
/ quarterback / tight end / receiver.
You didn't say that. You said glorified fullback, and that glorified fullback threw a disastrous ball into double coverage.
No single. He just threw it right to James Bradbury. It was a mismatch.
That turned into a turnover. That flipped the moment. They didn't score any more points after that. Flipped the momentum of the game. It was rough. Like the Giants didn't go immediately score, but the Saints they found the answers for the defense, for their offense. Jameis Winston showed notability to move the ball for the rest of the game. Impressive game from Leonard Williams to be able to handle not only Jameis Winston's running around, but Kamara in the running game as well.
Good game from Adoree Jackson.
Good game from Adoree Jackson.
Everybody was getting trucked by Taysom Hill.
Just the Saints were in control, and then they lost focus for 7 minutes, and they lost the game. And that's how it happens in the NFL.
Maybe because the overtime rule is if you get the ball first, and
you don't get to see it again.
Well, we wouldn't have scored. Like, who would have thought that we would have went down the field?
You saw Jabril Peppers. Fuck him. You got the ball. When you get the ball overtime, that usually means the game is over.
Anything else, Eric? But yeah, before I move on, Eric, NFC East 2, NFC South 0.
Whatever. Acting like the NFC East is better than the NFC South.
So the NFC East had the offensive player of the week, the defensive player of the week, and the special teams player of the week. NFC East for life, baby.
And they were all playing NFC South teams. But anything else before we move on to the next NFC East, NFC South matchup?
I mean, Kamara finally looked alive in this game for rushing for 120. I'm sure he can't wait to get Michael Thomas back because that'll take some attention off him.
He needs more passing game usage.
No, we wouldn't let him.
But it's been like that all year, though.
Yeah.
It's been because Jameis Winston has not been willing to hit the dump off, and that's Jameis Winston. He's a guy who wants to push the ball down the field. But yeah, the lack of passing game usage is hurting what Alvin Kamara is. He's not a traditional running back, and they're taking away his effectiveness that way, in my opinion.
But, all right, let's move on to the Washington football team and the Atlanta Falcons. Washington pulls out an exciting one, 34-30. What's his name? Heineke is breaking rules and somehow getting rewarded for it.
That's what happens when you play Atlanta.
Because it ain't football season till Atlanta blows a insurmountable fourth quarter lead.
We're going to stop blaming Dan Quinn. It's just Atlanta. It's in the water. They can't – if Atlanta's up in the fourth quarter, get your popcorn ready because something dramatic's about to happen. Atlanta seemed to be in complete control of this football game. And then they gave up a special teams touchdown. Their offense faded in the fourth quarter, and suddenly Taylor Heineke was driving down the field with no time left to go in the football game. It's typical Atlanta game. The offense plays good, the defense plays bad. When the offense needs to put the game away, they can't, and the defense gives up the game at the end. It's a pretty simple formula for the Atlanta Falcons at this point.
I mean, like you said, the game this was Cordell Patterson was just catching the ball, running the ball, doing whatever. Big fantasy week left. Thank you, Cordell. Keep it up. But after Washington got that kick return coming out of half, I told you, I looked at just like they're probably going to win this game no matter what.
Even though
that's tough to give up a special teams touchdown. Matt Ryan was playing his ass off. I will say Atlanta, I like the way Arthur Smith operates on the sideline. They're getting their offense going. He looks like he knows what he's doing for now. He doesn't look like he's panicking. He's pretty relaxed on the sideline too. He takes like bad news, like bad penalties. He doesn't like make gestures or anything. He just sits there and keeps an even kill face, which I like that about him. But he's in Atlanta, so when they got up by multiple scores in the fourth,
Washington had them right where they wanted. Had them right where they wanted. So disappointing.
Gigantic game from a guy who's proven to be top 10 for sure. Scary Terry McLaurin with 2 big touchdowns in this game. Taylor Heineke just chucks the ball up to him and he makes it happen. And then J.D. McKissick catches and I'm okay because I watched it live. J.D. McKissick can play. He can catch and he can move. He catches a little wheel route and avoids a couple defenders and puts him away. And Atlanta, RIP. Another long year ahead. And for Washington, that when they needed, especially because they were watching the Giants finish their comeback. Because the Giants game was running the fastest of all these 1 o'clock games. They were done soon because they were running, we were running. And Washington saw Dallas winning, so they got their win. Good for Taylor Heineke, repping ODU. Eric, anything else to say about this game?
I'd say the football team needs to utilize Curtis Samuel more.
He was only back in one game.
This is his first game back.
Off the hammy. It's tough.
I mean, J.D. McKissick should not have more targets than Curtis Samuel.
That's weird. I did not realize that, but he's there.
Curtis Samuel has a specific role that he plays. They're gonna have to figure out that there's gonna take chemistry. Don't forget, Heineke wasn't even the starting quarterback when Samuel got hurt. Most of his reps came with Ryan Fitzpatrick. So they're definitely gonna need some time to get that chemistry together.
And yeah, especially since last year we saw that Curtis Samuel is not even really a gadget guy. His best trait is probably lining up on the outside or in the slot and running deep routes and catching passes over the shoulder. So you're gonna have to get some time with that. And with the hammy, he's not at full speed yet. But I'm just going to leave that with NFC's 3, and this completed our trifecta. The Giants got the offensive player of the week. Cowboys got the defensive player of the week. Redskins got the special teams player of the week. NFC's 3. NFC South, which is supposed to be so big and bad, they go 0. Damn. To go winless against the NFC East.
I'll remember this for other weeks.
They should be winless if Greg Zuerlein didn't.
Now we lost Atlanta.
Y'all lost Atlanta.
We shouldn't. When Jason Garrett shitted on himself. On to the next game, Eric.
So to finish up the 1 o'clock slate, we'll go with the choke job or the most surprising win of the weekend. I'd say the Jets beat the Tennessee Titans in overtime, 27-24, and we actually saw Zach Wilson make some big time throws in this game.
I think if you saw the preview, I called the Jets getting the job done today.
You said they would cover. You didn't say they had
I said they had a chance of winning. They had a chance of winning.
For sure.
I didn't expect them to win, but I said they had a chance. Y'all said they had no chance. And the reason why is because we all know Julio Jones and A.J. Brown aren't playing. So Ryan Tannehill had to take 7 sacks and 15 quarterback hits. It still took overtime,
3 more touchdowns,
missed the field goal to get up out of there. That's how bad the Jets are. But, hey, good for Zach Wilson. They needed this win in the worst possible way, and they found a way to get it done. They fought hard. They had plenty of opportunities to blow the game, but they found a way to make another play and another play and another play. Zach Wilson has shown a lot of growth and maturity in terms of delivering the ball, not making poor decisions. Now, we know the Titans' defense isn't great, but he managed to show up and they play some pretty complicated coverages, and he managed to get through them and get the Jets up and down the field. They really don't have any run game or offensive line supporting him anyway, so he's just really carrying the job. Corey Davis got his revenge play of the week when he scored the explosive touchdown to create the separation in the fourth quarter. Yeah, good way for the Jets. Rough loss for the Titans. I think they'll be better when they get their guys back.
Titans, the Titans are in that 49ers area where they're a good team, but they have weaknesses that are exploitable. And if you're not going to have A.J. Brown or Julio Jones on the field, now Ryan Tannehill was under more pressure. It seems like that offensive line hasn't protected him at all this year. He's in for one of those I'm going to get sacked 50 times type per year. And Derrick Henry, he's still doing his thing, but his run production has tailed off because the offensive line's stepped back. It's a better run blocking offensive line, luckily, but they're not protecting the quarterback, which means teams aren't even worried about stopping the pass because they're probably going to get a sack. But they got to get some more weapons out there. They got to stop dropping all those touchdown passes that come off of guys' hands in the end zone, but they got to get Julio and A.J. Brown back. That's kind of they're all in.
That's what they invested their team into.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be invested in Derrick Henry and explosive play action passing game, and they don't have any of the explosive passing game right now.
Yeah, assets into Taylor Lewan and to Julio Jones just haven't worked out right now. So hopefully they get healthy, but that defense is Mike Vrabel's gonna if Arthur Smith becomes a good head coach, Mike Vrabel, he's gonna have to show that he had worth there. Because
is the AFC South the worst division in the league right now?
Yeah. I'm not gonna let the NFC South to sell now, but yeah,
we're better than we're all better than Houston and Jacksonville.
It's probably because they got 2 of the worst teams. They might have the 2 worst teams.
31.
They might have
maybe 30. The Jets are down there,
and the Lions, but they have 2 of the worst teams in the league, and they have 2 inconsistent teams. So, but I still think the Colts will be the playoff team, and Tennessee's probably still going to be a playoff team, but it's going to be tough because it's going to be tough in the AFC. As for Zach Wilson, made a bunch of big crazy throws, those Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes throws that everybody said that he could make in games. We saw it out there with that deep pass to Corey Davis for the touchdown. Put away touchdown.
No, because they went to overtime.
They get back in.
It was the go ahead.
When Tennessee realized that this is going to be a fight to the end, and Jets got their win. They're a rebuilding team, so I don't expect much from them. So it's a good win that they probably didn't see on the penciled in on the schedule.
Exactly.
But anything else to say about the game, Eric?
No, I was impressed with Zach Wilson. I mean, he's better out of the pocket on the run than he is sitting in the pocket, reading the defense and making decisions.
Young quarterback, that's how it's going to be.
Yeah. So Corey Davis had a great game. Only 4 catches and got 111 yards.
The 53-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter was the difference maker in the game, probably
against his old team.
Yeah. So good for you, Jets. Good for
the Jets.
New York football.
Good for New York.
New York football undefeated in week 4. That's all it took. 4 weeks.
All right. So
next,
let's move on to the 4:00 games. We're going to start in Mile High, where the Baltimore Ravens defeated the Broncos 23-7.
The latest 3-0 pretender to fall. There's 3.
Real.
I was wrong. 3 3-0 pretenders showed up this week, and they all fell. And
the Rams ain't no pretender.
I was talking about the Raiders, but you.
I forgot. We knew they were pretenders. I forgot all about that.
But for the Broncos, we know Teddy Bridgewater got hurt. I think late in the first half, concussion protocols. Hope he's doing well. Seems like he's progressing well in practice. Drew Lock came in there, stunk up the joint. Clearly,
he wasn't that bad.
He was pretty bad.
He wasn't that bad.
The Broncos looked like they made the right quarterback decision, but they just ran into a better football team, in my opinion. They ran the ball well, but they really couldn't make plays with in the passing game. The injuries to their receiving corps obviously hurt Denver's ability to move the ball as well. They're not getting a whole lot out of Cortland Sutton. I don't know if it's the quarterback or if it's defense is putting coverages on him. But especially with the injuries to the receiver position, but they got to get more out of him. They got to get more out of Noah Fant. They actually ran the ball for a pretty decent clip in this game, but they couldn't make enough plays in the passing game. Their defense, they were in the game relatively the entire time, but their offense just had no chance of scoring the ball.
And it's weird. I mean, I don't even. When you watch Denver's offense, it's Pat Shermer's offense. So I've seen it for a good amount, but like. I don't see guys getting open. I don't see holes being really opened up. And this was a week where they were running the ball well. So, like, it's not a really productive offense. And I don't know if I didn't think this was one of the better teams in the NFC West. And maybe they just got a cakewalk schedule that maybe overinflate how good they might have been and how good they looked against Jacksonville. And they did play the Giants. They looked
and also good. The Jets.
And that was week 1 stuff. And so like maybe they're just not that good, which is probably
the most likely scenario.
But Drew Lock gets his chance to show if he could play. He's gonna have to take advantage of this opportunity if he wants to have a realistic idea of being an NFL quarterback. Sucks that Teddy Bridgewater has to go the Tyrod Taylor route and get hurt again. But even when he was playing it in Baltimore, I'm just gonna highlight that Baltimore is one of the best organizations in the league, and they know what they're doing, and they're gonna overcome all obstacles until it gets too much to overcome, which is usually going to still get you to the playoffs, which is good for them. Good passing game for Lamar. They actually slowed that, but Denver actually slowed down the run game.
Yeah.
Until they did the cheap.
Any thoughts? Yeah, I was about to ask. Any thoughts on how on either side? Like
Big Fangio was just mad he couldn't tell his players to go hit a lick. That's why he was mad. He said if I knew he was playing no holds barred, I'd make sure my guys were going no holds barred. That's irrelevant. They were getting his ass beat.
Salty old man.
He's getting his ass beat. It's okay. Eric, anything else to say about this game?
I mean, yeah, this proved that Denver, they step up in who they're playing and their faults show. But yeah, definitely one of those fraud 3-0 teams.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to Green Bay and Pittsburgh. Old man Big Ben loses to the Green Bay Packers 27-17.
So disappointed this was the only nationally televised game in the 4:00 window. Like
it's 2021. We have access to everything
why
else.
were we forced to watch this on cable television? Like, come on, this was so gross. No one wants to watch Ben Roethlisberger play anymore. It's not fun. It's
the game we ended up watching most of the time wasn't much better.
That's fair, but it's over. It's over.
No one had a worse performance on Sunday.
We can bury the Pittsburgh Steelers for dead.
You were the one that was saying, me and Eric already did that.
I'm joining the band. I'm joining the bandwagon of Pittsburgh is done. It's a shame that they didn't go look for their quarterback already because I don't think there's one coming next year. It's gonna be a long few years for Pittsburgh. I hope y'all enjoyed. Y'all quarterback played in 2 Super Bowls. That was
three.
He won 2,
but
so
he played in 3.
They only care about the ones they won. So I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl victories. I hope you enjoyed the success. That's over now. Good luck.
If Mike Tomlin can get a winning record, or even a 5, no, it's gotta be.
Can't get 500. It has to be a winning record.
Ain't no way, Buck. Ain't no way. They don't have a good offense.
They can't do anything.
They might have the worst quarterback in the league.
Arguably, Chase Claypool getting hurt in practice definitely didn't help. They need every piece of
because everything is 1-on-1. So we need our receivers. We have the best receivers out there because we're gonna be throwing jump balls all day or dump offs on 4 for 5, 4 for 10. No one had a worse performance and had people questioning how good they were other than Ben Roethlisberger. But as for Green Bay, I don't
know what they are.
They're Aaron Rodgers.
They're the Rodgers team, so they're always going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. Probably going to lose to the teams that match up decently with them. 12, 13 games.
And when you say lose, get the ass whacked.
And they're going to win 12, 13 games because Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers.
They have a good offensive scheme now too.
Yeah, so this wasn't really a test for them. Pittsburgh looks pretty pathetic right now. The Packers have settled in. They found Devontae and Aaron have found their rhythm. Aaron Jones is playing well. They're a good.
AJ Dillon had a big game. You got used a lot.
They're really good on offense. Their defense is still questionable, so I would still like to see how their defense performs against a better matchup. But we know Joe Alexander is a top 3 to 5 cornerback in the league, so their defense has hopefully when they get their pass rushers back, their defense will pick it up. But yeah, just another solid win for the Packers at Lambeau.
Anything else, Eric?
I mean, I question Randall Cobb being their leading receiver for the Packers. This ain't 2011.
Well, Pittsburgh's defense. Pittsburgh, they got a respectable defense. So, they'll scheme it up to make sure that Devontae Adams ain't just beating them.
And Aaron Rodgers is good enough that he can spread the ball around, make other guys starts as well.
Yeah.
Randall might have been in his ear I ain't been getting no touches. You asked me to come back.
You brought me here.
But Big Ben stinks.
Yeah.
Nothing. All right, so let's move on to the showdowns of the NFC West. We'll go out to Santa Clara, where the Seattle beat the 49ers 28-21.
And saved their season.
I mean, this is the team that Russell Wilson beats. It's San Francisco. He loves San Francisco. Unfortunately, San Francisco is dealing with so many devastating injuries in their secondary. How can they guard DK Metcalf and Taylor Lockett?
They didn't.
You can't. It's impossible.
No,
and so,
Taylor Lockett didn't do nothing. They just couldn't guard DK Metcalf.
Whichever one you
Tyler,
like.
you're on my fantasy team. Come on, man. We need you to
shout out to you, Taylor. I did the W this week. So overall, Russell Wilson continues to look like Russell Wilson. He's having another stellar season across the board, incredibly efficient. Doesn't put the ball in harm's way. They move up and down the field. It's just about how well their defense plays that week will determine how much they win. And their defense played well enough this week. Trey Lance had to come play in the second. I think that's the big story in this one. But so far, the Seahawks found a way to tape their defense up well enough for Russell Wilson to carry him home.
Yeah, Deebo Samuel. I think that's the big. He looks elite.
He's just spectacular.
Elite. Eric, you definitely picked the wrong San Francisco receiver. Yeah. And you probably put Brandon Ayuk in the doghouse. He don't even know how he got there. Just he's Eric said you were going to break out this year, so we got to put you in the doghouse. But Deebo Samuels was wide open on Trey Lance's first NFL. Oh no, his first
his fourth
real touchdown pass. But hopefully he gets to start. But I don't think he's ready because he flashes his raw athleticism, but he still looks really raw. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be good if you could keep protecting him and let Jimmy Garoppolo take that licks, but. This is Jimmy Garoppolo we're talking about. If he wakes up,
it ain't gonna last that much longer.
He wakes up and he breaks something or hurts something. And apparently he said he heard someone kick him, and it was an Achilles problem. Apparently and there is no film. I heard they were struggling to find the film of the play, And so
they say he's fine. They say, well, not fine, but like they say, if it's Achilles is torn, we know about it. But it
are they
might
saying
almost
they fine,
be.
or are they saying they really don't care?
Well, they
gotta trade him. Still,
He's getting
they still want
Tyrod
to trade
Taylor
him.
out of
They
here.
still want to trade him. But Russell Wilson won this game because Russell Wilson can win.
They had the better quarterback.
Russell Wilson's gonna win you at least 10 games. So
That's what he did.
today, San Francisco left the door open for them to win games. Eric, anything else to say about this game before we move on to the other side?
I mean, no, I was impressed with Trey Lance. I mean, it's impeccable what he's doing because he went from one game at North Dakota State and here you go, NFL. And he's proven to be doing well and seems worthy of the 3rd overall pick for sure.
The blessing of being 6'5" and supremely athletic.
And Kyle Shanahan. Having Kyle Shanahan who's going to scheme it up exactly the way you want it. He's not going to put him in any – unlike Matt Nagy, Kyle Shanahan's going to put his quarterback in a position to succeed. And you saw the results of that in the second half of the game. The Seahawks defense isn't amazing to be out here slowing him down really at all. So he got a chance to have some easy pitch and throws.
Good warm up. Hopefully he gets the start if he's going to play. But I think if Jimmy – they'll put him back in.
But like him getting some first team practice special stuff will help with development as well.
Yeah.
All right.
So next, Eric.
Yeah, next we got Arizona going to LA. Arizona wins 37-20. Kyler looks spectacular.
MVP frontrunner.
That's the story of the game.
That is if we were handing now we don't hand out MVP trophies in October.
No, we don't.
But if you were handing one out, it would go to Kyler Murray. He's been the best quarterback in the league so far this season. He can't be stopped running the ball, but more importantly, he's found a way to be unstoppable throwing the ball, especially from the pocket. He played with incredible patience in his game. He eluded Aaron Donald and made him chase him around, made plays down the field, which is what you're going to have to do against the Rams defense. So they're going to be so good in coverage. And they dominated them. Chase Edmonds averaged 10 yards a carry. That's pretty unacceptable. LA, how do you allow it to happen?
Gave him 200 yards total rushing.
Which
means you lost.
Which means you lost. The Cardinals did whatever they want. AJ Green had a big game as well. The Rams defense got punched in the mouth for the first time all season, and they didn't respond well. And the Cardinals showed up. They showed out their first big win over the Sean McVay Rams.
0-8 before.
Yeah.
They were due.
On the other side, for the Rams, they just an odd struggle on offense. Deshaun Jackson wasn't running wide open as he has been. Cooper Kupp was a little bit more covered, but Byron Murphy made the spectacular interception covering him.
Another guy who could be DPY considerations.
Overall, Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt turned up the heat on Matthew Stafford a little bit. The Rams are still struggling to run the football with any sort of consistent success, and if they're not doing that, that's going to hurt the play-action game, and it did in this game. They made life a little bit more difficult for the Rams on offense, and with the way the Cardinals were just moving up and down the field, it limited the Rams' possessions, and they won the game comfortably. They handled the Rams in this one.
What this game proved is this is not a good matchup for the Rams because I do believe the Cardinals are probably they're up there with the Cowboys and Bucks for amount of weapons. You're looking at DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore, Chase Edmonds, who's actually a better receiving back, and he was rushing for 10 yards per rush last week.
James Conner, 2 red zone touchdowns.
So they've got lots of weapons, and the Rams, they have Jalen Ramsey, who's going to take away your best weapon. So a Green Bay, he could just take away a Devontae Adams, who's going to be the primary focus of 65 to 70% of the offense. And they have Aaron Donald, who is going to usually run down most quarterbacks. But the Cardinals have Kyler Murray, who's probably the most electric player playing quarterback right now, and Aaron Donald's he struggled to run him down. And Jalen Ramsey can't cover every receiver that they have in a spread, wide open, air raid offense. So this is just looks like a bad matchup for the Rams, which sucks for them because they're probably going to have to play one of those teams in their division in the playoffs. So they're going to have to hope that this wasn't it. But I will say Kyler Murray's doing a good job carrying that flub of a head coach that they've got. Because I've never seen any innovative play design. I just see Kyler Murray usually making it happen. So good on for him. He's been the MVP so far. Hopefully he can keep it up. He's always he always tails off on the back end of the season, which is what we're waiting to see if he does. But he looks like the real deal. He looks like he's developed even more, and Good luck to them. They have a good team and they have good pass rushers and they have a really good secondary with Byron Murphy and Buda Baker and as well as Isaiah Simmons, who's playing a lot of those intermediate type of positions on their defense. So good for them. They look like they got something there. So let's hopefully health is the only thing out. They don't have much depth, so hopefully health will be good for them because they're exciting to watch. As for the Rams, Matthew Stafford was a little bit inconsistent throwing the ball down the field, and they can't run the ball. And basically, this game was over because they weren't stopping the Cardinals. And then bad Matthew Stafford interception followed by bad Sony Michel fumble, and then game over. Anything else to say about this game?
What I took away from this is that Kyler Murray is faster than Lamar Jackson, is what I took away from this.
That's how quick and fast aren't the same.
Yeah, I think he's definitely quicker. And I just think that's because he looks like he's moving faster than that little small body.
And I think it's an illusion.
That third down run.
It's the play of the week.
Yeah,
it's the play of the week.
And it was the straw that broke the camel's back. The Rams were hanging tough.
That came after the
3rd and 16. I think it came after the pick. Big 3rd and 16. They had a chance to keep the game, but then couldn't corral them. They had done a good job the whole game, but at any moment he could break a big one on you that'll kill you.
Aaron Donald's not going to run that guy down, and that sounds like the answer. But is that all? Anything else, Eric?
No, that's it. Moving on to the primetime game. Tom Brady's return to Gillette Stadium. Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady. The Bucs come out on top 19-17 in a nail biter.
I mean, this game was everything you expected it to be if you were paying attention to where these two teams were going. Bill proved that he's a genius. He's going to go out there. He can throw. He has every defensive scheme at his availability, and he has built the personnel to be able to execute exactly what he wants to do. And he made life a living hell for Tom Brady on Sunday. He brought his signature weather machine for a nice primetime game at Gillette against an elite quarterback. He always pulls it out. This was no different. Made life a lot harder for the Bucs offense. He managed to sit there. Tom Brady, he had a hard time. The most off-target passes he had all season. They really didn't get a ton of pass rush, but it's hard to throw the guys who aren't open. Antonio Brown had a shockingly poor football game, dropped a touchdown, at least one touchdown, and a couple of other plays that could have been explosive plays for them. Mac Jones on the offensive end was pretty good. 19 straight completions in the rain is very impressive, especially to the cast of characters he's throwing the ball to. But as we know, the Bucs aren't really loaded at secondary right now with the injuries they're dealing with. But great game for Mac. Not great game, but very good game for Mac Jones. Patriots gave it their best fight, especially missing their right tackle. The Bucs were able to bring some pressure at them. You can't run the ball in the Bucs. They had negative yards rushing. But if one or two breaks go their way, the Patriots could have won this football game, but the Bucs are the better football team. And despite the struggles that they were going through, they're good enough to overcome it. Tom Brady's good enough to overcome it, and they got the victory.
Vintage Tom Brady game. He played like shit all game and wasn't getting lots of help from his receivers to improve his game. So he didn't have amazing numbers, but they weren't really being aggressive at all like they usually are, because like Bill was clearly showing Tom Brady things and that he had never seen or he's not good at against, because Bill's been throwing things at Tom Brady for 20 plus years. It was vintage master versus apprentice, something that we never thought we'd get to see. But all I gotta say is bad time for the Patriots, because they threw one of the best game plans they probably could at one of the weakest versions of this Tampa Bay team we've seen, and they still lost, falling to 1-3. So I was wrong about how good they're gonna look. I don't know where they go from here. That AFC East is probably gonna be Buffalo beating up on people like New England.
It looks pretty awful.
I mean, classic. I mean, Tom Brady looked confused. Tom Brady looked confused, which means Bill was doing his job. So Bill probably won his matchup because Tom Brady was shit. But this is not the league where you could, unless you're playing dominant defense to the point where they're barely moving the ball or you're forcing turnovers. You can't just win by playing stout defense and getting 3-and-outs and punts. You got to score on offense if you're going to be playing defense like that. So, I mean, Patriots got to go back to the drawing board. Josh McDaniels, he got to step it up. But I don't know how good of an offensive mind he really is now that Tom Brady's gone, because he really hasn't had a great offense since Tom Brady's left. And so tough time for the Patriots ahead, and for the Tampa Bay, they got Tom Brady. So even when they play a D-plus game again, this is the second game they've won this year where they've played a below a C-plus game. So they're a good team. So hopefully the injuries derail them, because we need the NFC to stay weak, and nothing much more. This epic matchup that we finally got to see.
What do you think about the field goal attempt down the stretch? I thought it was the wrong decision. I think when that rain with Nick Folk, who's never really
there is a 0% chance that we know what Nick Folk is.
So like, if I don't think anybody in the building really believed Nick Folk was going to put that kick through the uprights. I think you guys try to go get 3 yards.
But that just shows you Bill Belichick literally must have thought all the options in his head and thought, you know what, I don't want to see my offense come back here and try to get 3 yards. So that's what I'm saying. The Patriots.
The problem is, I think if you make the kick, you get your heart broken anyway.
Yeah,
so like that's.
But that's what you're saying. Like Bill was taking a stand. Like if we make this kick, I have enough stuff left over to make sure that we don't lose. But it doesn't matter because Nick Folk would never make a clutch kick like that for anybody. Probably.
Yeah.
Eric, anything else to say about this game that we finally got to see? It was a whole lifetime in the making.
Yeah, I got 2 things, one for each team. The Buccaneers, I think it showed how much they really need Gronkowski and how much Brady needs that security blanket.
Because I have seen those numbers, the splits with Gronkowski and the splits without Gronkowski. They're surprisingly shocking for all y'all Tom Brady fanboys out there.
And the other thing, with this weather, I was surprised that Mac Jones threw it 40 times and they ran it 1, 2, 3, 4. They ran the ball 8 times.
It's pointless. Eric, they built their team to be the most dominant run-stopping team in NFL history, and that's what they are. You can't run the ball. It's no point.
Because you always start – you got to stop the run, you got to run the football, and you got to stop turning the football over. And they don't turn the ball over because they got Tom Brady, and they stop the run. And they got the run game going. We actually forgot to mention that. They actually got the run game going.
Patriots are a weaker run defense in the NFL, but they did – Leonard Fournette had a really, really good football game.
Any other points, Eric?
No, that was it. So moving on to the Monday Night Football game, the LA Chargers hosted the Las Vegas Raiders, and it was a pretty much it was a very pro Raider crowd there. But I feel like they dominated this game from wire to wire, 28-14.
Yeah, Justin Herbert was in the first half was spectacular. He up and down the field. He made every right decision to the open receivers. The Raiders had a hard time getting any real pass rush on him with Rashawn Slater out there handling his business. He continues to be outstanding in his first year at left tackle. But the story of the game was a tale of 2 halves. In the first half, Justin Herbert was dominant. The Raiders had no answers on offense with Joey Bosa getting after Derek Carr and the pass rush. And the Chargers basically won the football game in the first half. They led 21-0. The Raiders, they tried to make a fight of it in the second half. They cut 14 points off of it, but they never had the ball with a chance to tie the game because Justin Herbert took them down the field one more time to end it. Derwin James made a play, and that was a wrap. It was a surprisingly bad performance from the Raiders on offense. I expected them to be able to run the ball a lot better, but the Chargers defense stepped up and shut it down. Josh Jacobs does not look healthy, and I think that's a big problem for the Raiders on offense right now. And with them having Derwin James, the guard Darren Waller, that hurts them, his favorite target, to be able to throw there consistently.
Through the bad pick
at the end of the game. The Raiders, I don't think anybody really bought into the Raiders 3-0 record, but I do think they are a solid football team, but the Chargers are a tier above, and they proved that in this game.
Yeah, basically the Chargers just beat them twice. They beat them they just shut them out in the first half, and then Raiders made a fiery comeback just to get put away in the fourth quarter. Justin Herbert was great. He's putting his name for, if he keeps this up, MVP discussions. Also, this is another back-to-back AFC West win, so they're already 2-0. So it's tough. Kansas City, they're already playing from behind. Like you said about Denver, I forgot that Raiders were 3 undefeated. I always forgot that. But this is the Raiders. They have a good offense, but they've spent the last few off seasons making so many bad decisions.
Alex Leatherwood looked awful.
He looked pretty bad.
He looked awful.
He was going against Bosa, who probably was a little teed up that he got handled last week against Dallas. Way to no-show the Dallas game, Nick. But just Joey. The Raiders have made so many bad personnel decisions that they just don't have a good team.
Yeah.
They're
well coached. Just not a good football team.
That's why coaches coach and GM's GM. John, you got to pick it up. Colin Farrell is just not even playing for them.
Yeah. Damon Arnett, they him in the first round.
You talking about Leatherwood? No, David Arnett.
He can't guard anybody. Abram made another mistake in coverage in this game. They've invested so many premium picks in that defense, and none of them can play.
All of the picks they've got back from the Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper trades have become nothing.
I mean, Yannick Ngakoue, they signed Yannick Ngakoue. They found Max Crosby by some miracle.
And that's the only thing saving that defense.
That's what they have.
Yeah. Derek Carr, he was under pressure a lot, so he didn't look good. Darren Waller, like Moody said, is being guarded by Derwin James, which is like that's what you have Derwin James for. And the young corner, Asante Samuel's kid, he was good again. He's looking really good. So even better than I thought, and I thought he'd be pretty good. And tough loss for the Raiders because it was a pseudo home game.
Yeah,
and they weren't
the better football team.
They weren't the better team, but like we thought they were close.
It was so clear.
They didn't look. It looked. And when you watch the game, like this team was undefeated, and this team had it. Yeah. Anything else to say about this game, Eric?
I mean, I think Josh Jacobs is struggling this year. He hasn't really had
injury.
He doesn't look healthy at all.
Yeah. So I mean, he's something to look out for.
He's also on your fantasy team, if I recall right.
Yeah, stop bringing up my fantasy team, bro. We had enough.
Hey, his fantasy team lost this week, Eric. You could count for that. Isaiah didn't win the fantasy this week.
Yeah, but I've only won once. I mean, yeah, Darren Waller was getting covered by Derwin James, but I still think you can target him more than.
He's also on your fantasy team.
But I still think you can target him more than 7 times because he is bigger than Derwin James, so he could still get up and get the football from Derwin James.
Did he not score a touchdown still in that game? When he went up over that DB?
Yeah, he did.
Not Ireland.
He cooked this year Adderley. He cooked him.
Yeah, they should have. They didn't move him. They clearly were using him as a decoy because if they moved him around, they could have found the matchups they probably were needed to find. But John Gruden's a little cocky in his coaching style. Like he does what he wants to do. So like that's why his GM skills are even worse because he's not good at that clearly. But anything else that you caught other than your 2 guys on your fantasy team that you're relying on for Las Vegas not helping you out this season already?
All right.
All right, let's move on to the best part of the segment, MVP standings right now.
We could call it the quarter poll. Not technically the quarter poll, but it'll be the quarter poll. Although I find out on fantasy football now that it means the opposite. Quarter poll means it's supposed to, in horsing it means like the last quarter, but we're talking about the first quarter. So we misusing that. So we'll just say 4 games, 25% of the season in.
Wow.
That was a lot.
You got it out there though. We learned something. You ain't never heard about no horse racing on a pod unless you listen to all we do is talk. But I'll go first. So clearly we're all gonna have Kyler at 1 because I don't know if he'll stay there, but he's there right now, which it's just some power rankings. Mm-hmm. At 2, I'm still gonna have Matthew Stafford at 2. You took that loss to Kyler, but that's tough, especially since he didn't play as amazing and his offense wasn't that great. But I'm still think they're gonna play again, and so we're gonna see him on a short week, so he'll get a chance to probably rebound. He'll probably be back in the good graces of people soon enough.
Matt versus Russ, can't wait to see it.
And then 3, I'm gonna go ahead and put Justin Herbert slightly edging out Josh Allen and Dak Prescott and Tom Brady. Those will be the first 3.
So those are your 6 MVP candidates, not your 3.
I didn't. It was 4. It was 4 people to fit into one spot. And Herbert, you got it. You got the Mahomes win, so you get the spot. So yeah, I'll go Kyler, Matthew, and Justin because the West Coast is just running football right now.
All right, I don't mind picking up the baton from there. Obviously, it's not much to say about Kyler Murray. They're the last undefeated team in the league. He's playing the best at the quarterback position right now. He gets to be clear 1. Number 2, obviously, I'm going to put my man Rain, Dakota Prescott, as second in the MVP voting. The love. I love seeing the love fests coming in for Dak Prescott. We've been seeing it for the last couple of years, but now the team is healthy, the O-line's healthy. We're getting the full look of what Dak Prescott looks like, and he's orchestrating the best offense in the league, in my opinion. And Isaiah's talking about the Mahomes win. Dak got a Justin Herbert win, so he gets to be 2. At number 3, we'll close it out. Yeah, I think I'll agree with Isaiah putting Justin Herbert at number 3.
Just because he just to help you with that.
Hey, he lost. Hey, you want to give him the Mahomes win? He lost to Dak Prescott. He wasn't the better quarterback. That's what he gets. Should have been better in the game.
He was better in that game.
He threw 2 picks. It should have been 3. How was he better?
Fix happened.
So anyway, Justin Herbert gets to settle at 3. It's not a bad position to be in. Of course, they beat Mahomes. They're the front runners in the AFC West right now. Although we'll see, because I expect the Chiefs to start waking it up as the season progresses. But yeah, those would be my top 3 MVP. Those are the 3 quarterbacks who I think are playing the best in the league right now, and their teams are all playing really good football. Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert.
All right, Doug. But Eric, go ahead with your power rankings and sign us off.
All right, so I'm going obviously Kyler number 1 through 4. I'm going to go my MVP, Tom Brady. Yeah, he didn't perform well, still got the W, and he's
just like Tom Brady. You know, don't matter what he did, just good enough to be on the list. He got to be on the list because his name's Tom Brady.
But 3, I am gonna go Dak Prescott. I mean, he's definitely.
Don't say like it's a surprise, Eric. That's who he is. He's playing like an MVP. Put some conviction in your voice.
But seeing him this past weekend,
but he can get some standing.
Hater.
Seeing him this past weekend, he didn't have like the yardage, but he had the.
He wasn't even that great. This wasn't even his big.
4 touchdowns, no picks. He did it easily. Eric, you was watching the game. Tell him what he was doing.
He had a Jameis Winston week 1 game. Remember when people were putting Jameis Winston as the MVP?
That's different. Dak
Prescott had 20 yards.
Prescott was the guy.
He had less passing yards.
He still averaged 9 yards an attempt. He still was slinging 70% of his passes, 9 yards an attempt, 4 touchdowns. It don't get more efficient.
It's okay, America. The hype will be done.
It don't get more efficient than
Thanksgiving is almost here. But
go ahead, Eric. Let's let Eric finish up.
But yeah, Dak Prescott 3. I mean, he's still very impressive. We'll see as the season goes on. Obviously, with all of these standings, because I doubt any of us will believe Kyler's an MVP throughout the year. But it's up to this point, so we gotta take with the information that we got. So I'll go Kyler, TB12, Dak Prescott.
TB12. All right, Eric, take us home.
All right, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. We love all that stuff. Come on, subscribe, all that. So help the boys out.
Share.
Yeah, and share with your friends. You know, we talk about all.
Let us know what your MVP rankings are.
Yeah. So on that note, we'll head out. Stay tuned for the week 5 predictions. Are any of us sub 500? Do you think?
Probably.
You think?
We'll tally it up.
We'll let y'all know.
But all right, boys. We'll see you.